All right guys, in this video we're going to talk about food plots. Now there's a lot that goes into a food plot, from soil samples to food plot design. I'm going to kind of lean towards the food plot design on this. You know, if you're able to do a food plot on your lease, you run into some limitations on being able to what you can actually do, whether it's if you can make it down there in the right timing with the weather and line that up with rain, or just your limited materials that you have actually at the lease. If the farmer is willing to work with you and help you along that way, that's one good way to approach him. Like, hey, either throw him some additional cash and have him put that food plot in for you, or even if he's got a standing crop right now and he allows you to implement a food plot underneath that existing crop already, that gives him a cover crop throughout the winter and gives you a food source on your lease once he harvests his crop. But I'm going to dive into a little bit more about food plot design. So as you see behind me, it's just a big square section that this farmer's allowed us to implement a food plot. One thing about that is, throughout historical history and my experience with large food plots, if you're hunting mature deer, they don't really feel necessarily safe in a wide open area. So what I did with this food plot is I broke it up into, instead of one large food plot, I broke it up into 4 individual smaller plots. What that allows to do is allows security for, like, again, a mature deer to enter that food plot and feel secure, knowing that he can just take a couple bounds out of the way and be back into security. But it also allows you to stack more deer into your food plot. So if you think about a mature doe, when she enters that food plot and she has her fawn with her, she is doing everything that she can to make sure that her fawn is healthy and is able to thrive and get the correct nutrients throughout the year. So if other family groups of doe try to enter that food plot, if there's a mature doe, she will push those deer out of that food plot, so that way her and her fawn can actually graze and not be pressured and have that additional stress by other deer. So by breaking up those smaller plots and allowing them to be big enough for a family group of doe to feed in, but by having several of those, you're able to stack more deer in here. And again, like everybody knows, the more doe you have in your food plot during the rut, the bucks are going to be right behind it. With that, not only are you going to have more doe actually in your food plot, for a buck to come and check all these individual plots, he's going to spend more time on your food plot, giving you a better opportunity at a shot. And in essence, the more time that he's spending on your property, the increased chances of actually harvesting that animal. So again, we're working with a small section. It's like 1.5 acres that the farmers allowed us to implement food plots. Over my right shoulder is actually what we call a destination food source. That is where the deer are going to end up. Some guys call them microplots, kill plots, or this can also be a transitional plot. That means that buck or those does are going to come into this food plot, start grazing as the sun goes down, and as they feel more secure throughout the night, then they're going to transition back into those destination food plots, those wide open fields, those big egg sources. So this allows you to potentially be able to capture that deer earlier in the evening, allowing a better chance and a better opportunity at harvesting that mature deer. And one thing to think about, you don't need farm equipment to actually establish a food plot. One thing about clover is it grows great in shade. Once you just need that little bit of sunlight and that seed to soil contact, and you'll have a nice luscious clover plot. There's several ways that you can implement food plots. Again, if that farmer's willing to work with you, establish that beforehand, potentially before you even sign the lease papers. Maybe he can get that seed in the ground for you or work that ground for you at least. But if the farmer doesn't live on that land, or that's just not an option, a simple backpack sprayer, burn that weeds and all that vegetation growing up, burn that down, best case scenario, twice. Work that ground in any way you can, whether that's a hand rake or just anything that you can pull behind your side-by-side or UTV. Just break that ground up, get that seed to soil contact, and you're gonna have an awesome food plot this year. So if you're interested in any of the Buck Bourbon products, whether it's the food plot seed, the mineral, or the deer supplements, just visit buckbourbon.com or go to your local retailer.